Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Drinks Glue. Joining us in the broadcast booth tonight is the one, the only, the Possum Morpheus. Possum, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here for what is sure to be a banger of a match and get to be in the booth with one of my good buddies, Physics, and one of my other good buddies, Drinks Glue, and another really good person doing tracking. So I'm just happy to be here.
I'm very glad to be here with you as well, Possum Morpheus. Pardon the pause there. I was expecting Glue to chip in again, but yeah, I'm very glad to be in the booth with you again. And this is definitely sure to be one hell of a race between Falcon Hit and the Schwantz tonight.
Yeah, two of the better runners in the game for sure. One could argue Falcon hit either at or right near the top for many a year now, and Schwantz no spring chicken with this. Been around quite a while himself and quite an experienced and very good runner. These runners right now in the first spot overall for Falcon Hit, and I believe Schwantz is what in the seventh spot, I think. So two of our top competitors at this entire event, the Kefka Grand Prix that's going on right now. So really good stuff here.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Kefka Grand Prix, that is the current event that we have going on, Mario Kart themed. Today's track is going to be the Lete River Rally. Our competitors today are going to have a bit of changes to the flags from your standard Ultros League 6 fare. They'll need 8 characters and 8 espers, as opposed to the 6 characters and 9 espers from typical Ultros League. The skip is going to require 12 bosses plus Lete River to be completed. Both players will start with Bannon with health, and there is a 4-character start. Considering this flag set also has a scaling of 2.5 levels per check, that will automatically increase the power of all enemies right from the get-go, since it starts with 4 characters instead of the 3. Other than that, we're basically looking at no free characters or espers, but stronger item rewards, and there is no Ultima to be found, not even from the Cursed Shield.
Well,
One may say
that's
that this is one of the more basic flag sets of Kefka Grand Prix, but with that, it still poses its own threats, especially with the scaling.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a whole lot of information, and I think the big thing I'm taking from that is the scaling. Uh, Sounds like a very interesting way to approach this. I'm also kind of looking at the fact that you don't get any of the free characters and espers, which means you're going to want to be fighting things and fighting things pretty aggressively, whether that be bosses or random encounters. As far as that skip, those 12 bosses and that godforsaken check that inspired the name of this, I guess one could say for skip, you're either going to take it or lead it, right?
Absolutely. At least it makes it worth it. You know, if you have Terra and you know you're going to be getting the skip because there's no free checks in this. So you're going to almost assuredly have your 12 bosses by the end with no free checks. So going ahead and doing that seems like an obvious choice since you'll almost certainly have what you need besides that to begin with, assuming you find Terra. Terra is not guaranteed, so you might not have the opportunity to get the skip regardless of boss kills.
That's true. It would be pretty terrible not to get her. She's a very good character. Her equip pool, her stats, Tara, one of the better ones in my opinion. Who else are we looking for here? I know that we had mentioned that we were starting with the health command in Strago. Looks like we also have a lock. We have a cyan. We have a shadow. I think I saw a sketch and slot. A Moogle Charm's already gone on. Rage Cyan, that's a character that exists.
Oof. Well, you know, maybe the equip pool isn't so bad for him this seed. I guess we'll have to see. Now, with this start, it has a ton of different checks that they can start with here. Falcon Head going straight to Narsh to do some looting. Question for you, Morpheus. When you get a lock start, how do you feel about Phoenix Cave early? Are you a do it first, or you just duck it until you have to?
I mean, so here's the thing about Phoenix Cave. It sucks. And the one thing that makes it suck less is being able to kill a dragon. So I don't like to do it until I can kill the dragon. That's a me thing though, and that's me not being as good as Falcon Hidden Schwans. I like to be able to get my extra XP, my extra items, and things like that. But also looking at the flag set, maybe you don't need dragons as much because your other dead checks give you strong items too. So it's one of those situations where, not having played a ton of this flag set myself, I think you might not see as many dragons as you might otherwise because your rewards might just be better or on par with what dragons would give you anyway.
That is true, but we can't discount the amount of experience they give, giving the type of scaling in this. The other thing to keep in mind in this is that you do start with 4 characters, so it's a matter of when are you going to take your first grind fights. The way I've handled this is take them as soon as I possibly can, just to get off a level 3 and kind of pad it out a little bit before I go and push any more progression.
Yeah, and I think, taking fights early is always great. As we also see an 8 encounter curse shield there, which, even though you don't get Ultima is fine, it's still a really good piece of gear. That Paladin shield, and 8 is pretty reasonable, honestly. But as far as those grind fights go, it's really not too bad because you go and you get those grind fights done. You go ahead and you get a Ragnarok from the weapons master check or a Valiant knife. I mean, those are both pretty good. Now you really want a Terra. But it's one of those things where you take those fights, and even if you do find another character down the line, no, maybe they don't get the stats from Espers and things like that, but they will still pick up the levels. So if you're starting 4 level, let's say 7, the next character you pick up will be level 7 as well. And we now have a Ragnarok on that Cyan with a Rage that suddenly has some potential there because there's a lot of rages that are like 1.5 times physical or 2 times physical, and why not?
Yeah, at that point with Rage and a Ragnarok, I also saw that Falcon hit looted a hero ring. So really, all the tools are here for an early Ragnarok build, and if we can get Stray Cat or Gold Bear, we are solid.
Skybase, actually. Skybase is instant death. So we actually have on Schwanz's side a way through this. We just might need to kind of save scum a little bit here and try to do this multiple times. But there is a way through this on Schwanz's side. One of the nice creative ways to get through early Gigantos is finding like something that does instant death, a Skybase, a Necromancer, any of those rages. You just get lucky and you get levels.
Absolutely, and fantastic knowledge from you there, Morpheus. You know how I feel about rages. They're not my favorite. I know a few of them, and I check my list when I get rage because I simply can't remember them properly. So, well done remembering that Skybase is instant death. I know a few times you have exploited instant death rages to get a leg up in the competition from early Gigantos. So you would think I would learn, considering how much you've beaten me, but apparently not.
I mean, it's been months since I've beaten you in Worlds Collide, so I think you've got the advantage now, friend. But I'll tell you what, these runners getting the advantage, lots of power here. It's just a matter of where are they going to get those levels.
Definitely. I've tended to just take some grind fights out in the world, maybe 1 or 2, or if I'm lucky, I have something like a Terra check, go do Sealed Cave, and do the Thief check in there, the repeatable one. That's helped me out early on. Just found another hero ring, so this is definitely turning out to be quite a physical-based seed, it looks like, with massive jet potential.
Yeah, seeing the Ragnarok and also the VK, kind of back to back from that weapons master check means if you find a Terra, you can basically put together 2 separate builds, one off of Ragnarok, which is Big Sword Go Burr, and the other off of a Valiant Knife, which is hope to find an offering literally anywhere, and then you have VK offering. It's one of those situations where there's no wrong choice there. And even though Ragnarok gives you more power now, Valiant Knife it gives you the most power in the game, in my opinion, late. So it's just one of those situations where, what are we going to do? What are we going to take? Falcon Hit took the VK, Schwanz took the Ragnarok. So there's divergence already.
Well, VK, well, you don't get the amount of, benefit out of it in terms of its HP loss component. It is still an incredibly high battle power weapon. So I think, personally, that's what I would have chosen over the Ragnarok. Although, Ragnarok does offer those flare procs, which really gives you crazy mileage early on. Also, I see a question in chat from Mike. Mike, what rage does Power Demon do? If I recall, it is something along the lines of flare.
Yeah, I think both Power Demon and Io do flare. Io might be
I was
Flare
flare
Star. I don't
star.
remember. Okay, they both have flare in them, but it's one of those where, yeah, flare it's decent, but flare also, I'm not going to steal your thunder on this, but flare is a spell you have a lot of experience with. Why is it such a not great spell?
Well, in a lot of Final Fantasy games, Flare is considered one of the most powerful spells, right along the lines of Holy, which that's still pretty similar in this one with it being non-elemental, but that's great in vanilla. It's not great when you're racing. It is one of the slowest, if not the slowest, damaging spell in the entire game, and it doesn't do anything for weaknesses, and its damage really isn't that great for the incredible amount of time it takes to cast.
Yeah, it's a long cast time. We see Falcon hit here going for Toe Cutter. Toe Cutter, if I'm not mistaken, is Shrapnel, I want to say. So that's also a pretty good option here, but I don't think he got far enough down in his rage list to see that Skybase was there. And we do see, yep, there is Shrapnel coming out. Gigantos does not fall down, though. That is a bit spooky.
That is a wild amount of damage, however, so there's definitely possibility to bring him down, which would immediately put Falcon Hit significantly ahead of Schwantz, at least in terms of scaling, due to the crazy amount of experience you get from Gigantos. The most experience in the game, from what I understand.
Yes, most experience per single enemy is my understanding of that as well. It's something like 270 times the level, or I don't know, I forget the equation. TLDR, it's a really large amount of XP. And yeah, that's going to be huge as we see Falcon hit.
10
up to
levels.
Level 13. That
10
is
levels
a lot.
in one fight. So the Schwantz unfortunately got taken out by Gigantos. However, Falcon Hit did not. And looks like he is going straight to Phoenix Cave, which someone might need to back me up on this one. I'm not 100% sure. It's one that feels free because there's no boss, but I'm fairly certain this is not considered a free check and can be live. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. I'm sure Glue will be able to follow up in the chat with me.
I would be shocked if this was considered free because of how long it is to get to. Like to equate this with, going to Kolingen Inn or something would be pretty wild to me.
Absolutely, yeah. It seems improbable, but sometimes I just don't necessarily know. Glue does say it can be an Esper or an item, but can it not be a character as well? I know this one has all three, I believe, in Standard Ultras League.
I meant character. Esper character, excuse me. I apologize.
All right, the God mic in my ear has said that it is all three, so character, Esper, or item. So this is not considered a free check according to the flag rules and is considered live for the purposes of getting Espers or characters. So we're going to see if this pays off for Falcon Hit. This is always a gamble early on in Seeds. Who does Phoenix Cave? Who doesn't do Phoenix Cave? And it can send the race either direction.
Wait, you mean 50-50s and randomizers can determine races? Be
I know.
still, my heart. It's what
absolutely
I've always wanted,
shocking
to be on the wrong end of a 50-50 every time. No, I'm kidding. Enough about me. Falcon Hit, diving through this cave. Schwantz doing some random encounters. Junk is actually fine, unless they do pep up, right? Which could be a little annoying. But we get Carcass here. Oh, nope, that's not Carcass. Carcass would not be casting Bolt 3. Don't know what that... Or no, Carcass does Bolt 3 and Wooly does Ice 3. I don't remember.
Wooly definitely does Ice 3.
Either way, those are both good ones to have. But yeah, quickly dispatches the junk there and now has 7 levels of his own, which is a good deal.
Absolutely. I mean, at least he was able to get through those first fights. The first fight or two are generally the most dangerous in the seed. And, obviously, unless you run into some really devastating bosses you're not ready for. But in general, the grinding fights are most risky early on, especially if you push scaling. Thankfully, the scaling isn't necessarily pushed in this one, and they're probably used to having maybe a 3-character 3 Esper, 3-character 2 Esper in Ultras League. So not push too hard, but it's good to see them both get through it without much issue. Looks like Falcon Hit is going. Is he going for the dragon this early? I guess he would be after Gigantos, huh?
Yeah, he is, and looks like we're going to get some Ice 3s, and we're going to get some Flare Stars. I do want to say that Cyan started out with like 29 magic, which for him is really not that bad. For a lot of characters, you'd see that and be like, wow, you shouldn't have, really. But for Cyan, 29 is actually quite nice. He can roll as low as like 20. I've seen it many times, and you're just like, yep, that
Absolutely.
exists. So.
And
this is a good Cyan.
It is a good Cyan, comparatively to the other ones, and with the earrings he was able to find, that definitely helps a lot.
Life Shaver could have been spooky, but we're fine. Locke, I believe, has the VK on, and he is going to do a little bit of damage here. A little bit more now, but got to watch out for these Honed Tusks. Could put Locke on the floor here, but no counter there is nice.
Thankfully, he's being quite kind. I'm not sure if he's high enough scaling right now to be throwing out Quake, but that would be my main fear fighting the Dirt Dragon this early, is an impromptu Quake just taking you out.
Yeah, Quake or a Magnitude 8, something wild like that. I did happen to see on Schwanz's side, he picked up an offering somewhere. I don't know where, but he probably is very unhappy now that he, of all things, has a Ragnarok. Because you would really want that VK to go with that offering. We see a Minerva for Falcon Hit from that dragon, which is not bad. So between our two runners, we have the VK offering build, which is what everyone dreams of. But neither one of them has the combination themselves yet. Apparently there was an egg and an offering in the basement. So just go in the basement, Forehead, and you'll find the keys to the kingdom.
Now, one thing I have learned about Falcon Hit, he has mentioned it in chats before, is that nowadays he does not do basement unless he must. So with this sort of setup, he determined that he did not need to go down to the basement. So he is not getting the offering or the experience egg early, which that's a rough pill to swallow. It looks like the coin of fate here has landed on heads for Falcon Hit. He is able to get Umaro, everybody's favorite Yeti, from Phoenix Cave. So no dead check for him, and hopefully Yeti checks pan out.
Yeah, realistically, you're just taking that Yeti so you can rip the snow muffler off of his still alive body. I know that sounds gruesome and phrased that way, but we are literally just taking his stuff and leaving him on the airship, never to be seen or heard again. Sorry, Knuckly Kong.
Yeah, no shade to Knuckly Kong, but when the stakes are this high, Yeti does not have a place 99% of the time.
Speaking of things that don't have a place 99% of the time, anything that starts with level and ends with magic, get me out.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting. Yeah, get out of there. I know there were some smoke bombs, so an easy out for that. And the Schwant's doing another one of the checks that are frequently 50-50. Who's going to do Floating Continent, who's not going to do Floating Continent. So we got one that did Phoenix Cave and one doing Floating Continent. So it'll be very interesting to see how this route divergence pans out for our runners today.
Yeah, this is interesting. We actually have Sniper offering on Schwanz's side. Love that combination. Iron Hitmen there give quite a bit of XP for not much trouble. But Falcon Hit routing in not one but two dragons very early here, taking the Phoenix Cave Dragon, and I have to assume he's also going to be taking the Mount Zozo Dragon here from Cyan's check. So that's going to be two dragons for him already. A lot of XP, as you kind of touched on before. So I was wondering early on, would dragons be taken in this because of, how the items work on dead checks and whatnot. For Falcon Hit, the answer is yes, and he signed me up for all of them, apparently.
Absolutely. I'm actually a little surprised that he would go here, as the run to the Esper is a little further away than, say, the Yeti check, where you could pretty quickly go do Tritalk, then come back down for the Ice Dragon. But, I would like to take dragons with Espers so I could be learning spells, but looks like he's going to strike out here. He's got a dead check here at Mount Zozo, so he still will not have an Esper for this dragon if he chooses to kill it.
Yeah, I think he almost certainly will, but he was doing the play here. You see it here, you see it in Ancient Castle, basically places where there are dragons, but there's also checks that you can then double back for those dragons. That's what Falcon Hit was hoping here to pick up a Magicite. Double back, learn the spells. Unfortunately for him, he's only going to get another Valiant Knife. So now we're a Genji Glove and an offering away on Falcon Hit's side from somebody just going buck wild on the seed. But unfortunately, we're missing kind of that other half. Two Valiant Knives, though, if we do find just a Genji Glove, is still fine. That's still two very big hits. We see a Curse Shield going on Cyan, now a Curse Shield going off Cyan. No Curse Shield for the dragon here, probably wise, because it would be very hard to keep that person standing. Meanwhile, Schwanz is going to war with Tentacles. That's never a fun fight, and particularly annoying early on, doing a good job of recognizing the weaknesses of individual tentacles, though.
Absolutely, a very important skill to have when
Oh,
dealing
no.
with the tentacles. And yeah, I hear you say, "Oh no, Falcon Hit unfortunately got triple frozen." He decided, "Nah, we're gonna reset and try this again." That's ridiculous.
I think any of his three characters other than Bannon, aka Strago, live there or don't get frozen and he's fine. That was not it. And also, this is what, French Vanilla Ultros, I believe?
This
Chupon
is
Ultros.
French. Yeah, French vanilla. So he would normally be up on the airship, followed by oh no, four. Oh my goodness.
All right, here's the plus side. It can't be five this time.
You're right. You're right. It can only be just as bad. I don't know if that's any better or any consolation, but hopefully the odds are in his favor this time, and we just don't get a North Cross and we kill it. Oh, never mind. Well, I would call it commentator's curse, but it was cursed to begin with. Okay. All right.
Okay,
I think that's doable.
we got one. I got two, actually. We're good. I mean, Ice 3 not going to help here, but
He could flare. Come on. Throw a flare for physics' sake. Let's see it. Nah.
wow, Ice Dragon took 3k there and did not die. That's a little surprising, actually, this early on.
Especially with the scaling. He has a Gigantos under his belt and another dragon, so I'm shocked to see him still alive.
This Flare Star, though, yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah. Good night. The Schwant's running through the floating continent. He already has an offering, so I doubt he's going to check any monsters in a box. And that is correct. Just going to run straight through and finish it up.
Yeah, he has an offering. He already knows where Gigantos is. What would you be looking for at that point? Maybe an EXP egg, but you can't get that from any monsters and boxes. You can get it from that dragon there up on Zozo, though. So Falcon Hit might not have any espers, but enough levels, an XP egg, a couple of VKs, maybe find an offering out there. I mean, don't need spells at that point.
Very true. Now the question is he going to find that offering? I don't suspect he's going to even think about the basement again unless Celis shows up. So he's got to hope that he runs into some monsters in a box and gets a Katana Soul, which, looking here, he's about to go up to Yeti's check, which does have a monster in a box. Shadow also does have one. There is the one here in the floating continent. We're not going to know if that's a monster in a box unless Falcon Hit runs it, but there's definitely options in routing that can be made to try and track down that offering. But how much time is he willing to sacrifice on monster in a box hunts?
It's very interesting, that question. I think it's a hard one to answer as well because you have to weigh, does it benefit me in the long run, time wise, to go through and hunt an offering versus the time I recoup if I find it? And you just have to weigh that out as you're going through the seed. Falcon Hit also routing in not one, not two, but his third dragon already, while Schwantz has decided that he's going to play with everybody's favorite dog, and that's Atma there. Let's go ahead and pet that puppy.
Yeah, it's Atma Weapon's big brother, so I guess you could call this French vanilla. I'm not quite sure. It's close enough. We do have a gold dragon on Falcon Hit's side, which is one of the more threatening dragons out there. Tends to cast a lot of level 3 spells and a lot of area effect spells, not to mention counterattacks, like that Bolt 2 he just took.
Yeah, could have tried to get creative there, and if we had, let's say, a rage that allowed us to Mega Zerk, which I want to say there's one rage out there. It's like, I don't know, Sky Captain or something. That's probably not the right name for it. But there's one rage out there to let you berserk all enemies. It works on Magimaster and Gold Dragon. So, we might have had a way to cheese this, but otherwise, without cheesing it, Gold Dragon is one of the worst ones to run into because it's thick, it's aggressive, and it just doesn't stop, basically, until it's dead. It has no dead moves in its pool, and this Bolt 2 might do it here, yeah.
Ooh, very
Unfortunately,
close.
gone for Falcon hit there, but he'll give it another go, I'm sure. Hope to just get a little luckier on the first couple spells. Not have Shadow go down right away, who I believe is his Ice 3 bot as well.
Definitely. Looks like he's going to put the Force Shield on Shadow this time. He did have it on Lock last time, which did keep him alive for a while, but I think he's prioritizing Shadow's survival this time to get through this.
Yeah, and Schwantz, meanwhile, does have an Esper. We have an Esper sighting, y'all.
They
One
exist.
down.
They exist. Now the question is, this is the risky part of doing a floating continent early, is what's at the end, because there's just no saves after, usually when you land, unless you go to the slime tunnel, but most people avoid that, especially in a high level race like this. So hopefully we are met with something very doable, in fact hopefully easy, here at the end of floating continent coming up.
And we have Doom coming out. Skybase going after Gold Dragon. I don't know that was the rage that Falcon Hit wanted necessarily, but well, we have a Skybase Cyan now.
That is an interesting choice. I wonder if that was a misclick. I believe that has to be. He is not instant deathable, so that is unfortunate. But he still has Shadow and still has Lock to be able to throw down damage pretty respectably.
I tell you what's not unfortunate. This Tri-Talk. That's exactly what Schwantz wanted to see.
Couldn't have gotten much better of a choice.
A couple fire rods. Yeah, a couple fire rods, a flare star, I think, and yeah, goodbye.
And whoever had that sparkly new Esper on now has basically every spell on it, unless it was Merton or Quick. Also, I just saw the cursed shield has been decursed, so
yep.
Schwantz has a Paladin shield, one of the best defensive items in the game, if not the best defensive item in the game.
Yeah, I think you could argue Minerva, Snow Muffler, Paladin Shield are all incredibly good.
All right, now to see what the Schwantz does next. Where to? I'm going to guess he does not do Phoenix Cave after already taking on Floating Continent. And what did he get? Another Esper at the end? So that's fantastic. 2 Espers. And a character, if I recall.
Yeah, he picked up Edgar, which, I mean, follow your characters. Your newest characters are more likely to give more characters, so that's always a fun thing. And Aura Lance, not what Falcon Hit was looking for, I would be nearly certain. But Schwantz running in here, and he does pick up a Flame Shield. I would argue that Flame Shield is more valuable than the Aura Lance. That's just me, though.
I agree, in general. It's got many different uses, not the least of which being one of your favorite Merton strats. So, just having that in your back pocket, if you have to crack it for any reason, it's there for you. At the end, it's great for Final Kefka. It's just a very versatile piece of equipment to find at any point in the game, beginning or end. I'm never upset to find an elemental shield. Fire shield, the most of it.
Yeah, also worth noting, you mentioned Merton. While we don't have natural access to it, we do have Daedalus. And Daedalus is a Merton rage, if I'm remembering correctly. So we do have a way to cast Merton where we could heal our characters with those flame shields, the paladin shield, etc., and still do damage to enemies. Might not be the most effective or efficient thing, but I mean, it'd be cool tech to whip out if it was needed. And we do get an Esper on Falcon Hit side 25 minutes in. That is probably not the amount of Espers he wanted at 25 minutes. Can't imagine Schwantz only wanted 2 as well. They were probably hoping for a little bit more than that, but the game being a little stingy on Espers here.
Absolutely. At least that one is a pretty good Esper with Strength +1 and Cure 3, so at least our runners will not have to worry about Cure magic as they go through the seed, or at least Falcon Hit won't at this point. First monster in a box, or second monster in a box, looks like it is a presenter, not what we're looking for.
No,
And
but if
also,
you
fantastic information about that Merton. The Schwantz has a Paladin shield, an Ice shield, and a Fire shield, so he's only one piece away from Merton protection. And I just saw a Magic +2 Esper on the Schwantz's side.
Yeah, I was going to say also, if you want to get real creative with the presenter, I believe you can also use Doom on it from the Skybase Rage. That would be pretty wild to not just run away. But, a thing that you could do. The Strength 1 Esper and the Magic 2 Esper, though, this early in a seed, you can kind of feed whoever you need to in any XP egg and kind of go from there. We see Bahamut being picked up by Falcon Hit. That's something that can actually just be used offensively. We always think of Espers as basically these things to junction to our characters and make them stronger, learn spells, etc. But we often forget, like, oh wait, that's actually a legitimately good Esper to use for damage. What's not good for our party is down goes Locke. That's always an issue with a VK user, is they get hit by something like a Stiff Breeze and they die. And then you have to go buy more Phoenix Downs. To answer our question from chat, where was the XP egg? The basement in South Figaro.
And the dragon from Zozo. So one for each. So though each of them only have one, they do both have an experience egg, but the Schwantz has an offering. Yeah, as you mentioned, having a VK user, especially early, can be extremely, risky in losing your lock or your VK user very early, and having to bring him up constantly, especially when dealing with an enemy like Dullahan who likes to do some area effect attacks or just surgical precision attack lock. That as well.
And speaking of bosses that can do some really rude AoE attacks, I don't think we're quite at the scaling yet. But this Senor Behemoth, for those who have played the game for any amount of time, have probably seen some sort of ridiculous combo, like, oh, I don't know, Fallen one into Meteor, or, Goner. Yeah, like any number of stupid things that Senor Behemoth can do, it will do. So I'm always happier to see it earlier than later just because of that. I know this is kind of weird to say for a World of Ruin boss, but it is just wild to me when Senor Behemoth pops off. And also when he just decides, hey, instead of a 30% counter rate, I'm going to have a 300% counter rate, and everything you do gets countered as well. But that was a pretty clean fight by Schwantz, getting through Senor Behemoth before Falcon Hit got through Dullahan, which you would normally not expect that to be the case.
Absolutely. Falcon Hit, unfortunately, is running into some pretty sturdy bosses and some difficulty with his offense. So hoping things start to pop off a bit more for him on that front, but the bosses have definitely posed a significant threat to him, constantly taking down Locke. But we do have Fire 3 and Cure 2 on that Esper, Bahamut, so that is a pretty good Esper to find. So at least you'll have some solid level 3 offense going on. I did also notice that Falcon Hit is utilizing True Knight strats. He has Bannon with the True Knight, so he's going to protect Locke when he's at low life or critical health anytime he's attacked with a physical hit. So that's always a fun tech to be able to use.
Yeah, it's fantastic if you run into anything that actually physically hits. That's always good. Also, pardon me if I just jumped there a little bit. There was a lightning strike real close to my house. Sorry about that, y'all.
Oh my. Me being from Florida, though not in Florida anymore, I'm quite familiar with dealing with ridiculous thunderstorms and lightning strikes, so I know how that can be, especially if it's sudden. All right, so we're doing Doma Dream, one of my favorite checks in the game in general. You just got a couple bosses to fight for 3 checks, with one of which being guaranteed progression, the other one's being Esper items. So I love this choice. Just got to hope the bosses are cooperative.
Yeah, basically a 3-for-1. Try to do your darndest to route efficiently. And yeah, we're going to see if that Senor Behemoth goes down just as quick for Falcon Hit. We don't have a way to imp, which is always unfortunate. But on the second half, we could Rage Skybase if we wanted, and then Doom the second half. We'll see how Falcon Hit approaches this. Schwantz about to show us what the rest of the rewards here are going to be, though. He is making his way through. Got Golem as well. Golem, Life 2 and Slow. Basically a useless Esper, except when it matters most, which is during Tier 3 of Final Kefka, is it will give you the ability to not run into calmness and be immediately bopped by it.
I'm sorry, did you just say the best healing spell in the game is not good on an Esper?
I mean, are we doing Life 2 Vanish strats? What are we going for here?
It's a full heal, 100%. You just got to sacrifice your character first. No big deal, right?
Okay.
It looks like, yeah, we got Ifrit over here at the end of Dome of Dreams, so this one should be no problem with Ice 3, and down it goes. Super easy.
Yeah, Ice Ice Baby, goodbye Ifrit. I was told once upon a time to stop running during this fight, and we do not see Schwantz running, does not want to run away and miss out on the rewards there. We learn Muddle and Rasp and Drain and Life 2 and Slow 2, and again, not really much useful there, but hey, we got stuff. And we have Jump on Sabin, which could be good in an alternate universe.
Absolutely. There is an Aura Lance to be found up at Narsh, World of Ruin. You know, that dragon. You know, if they really want to pursue that jump build, they can go for it.
Yeehaw.
Now, you did mention something, and you know what? It's completely gone. So I'm going to let you know if that comes back into my head. I got distracted by jump builds. I'm sorry.
It was nothing about a jump build.
No, nothing about a jump build. There was definitely something else in there, and it's gone. Fleeting out, just out of here. So
Somewhere up in the skies of Arcadia where it belongs.
absolutely. Now, I know we got an Esper. Did we check the throne? I did miss that.
The throne was also an Esper, I do believe. I think it was Siren, which is a really good Dome of Dream. That's Golem and Siren popping out of there. So you can't really go wrong with that at all. Basically, your tier 2 and tier 3 solved by doing one check is always real nice.
That is fantastic. Having an Esper to cast Mute is invaluable for tier 2. It is always a disaster letting Magic do whatever he wants to do for the entire fight. So knowing that you don't have to worry about that is great. And having a look, yeah, it looks like he's going to Mount Colts. So that is a interesting choice. A lot of people tend to fade this, but I will go here pretty much anytime I'm in the World of Balance and within a quick shooting distance to it. I don't find it to be a problem at all.
Yeah, I mean it's a walk, right? It's the type of check that you would do if you're also on like the World of Balance Zozo train, or the Phantom train, things like that. Speaking of things that you don't really want to see though, what do we have for the spicy chicken today? And more importantly, what is it going to have for us? Because this is just not the fight you generally want to run into. This is going to have a lot of HP, and it's going to be pretty sticky. And that flare proc is real nice, but only 1,000 damage on the front end. Yeah, we got to figure out a way through this. That's the big thing. I don't think we have stop, which is generally the best way to get through it. And I don't know that we even have a rage that has stop. We see crits or procs from sniper only doing 400. This is a bit rough.
Absolutely. He does have very high physical defense, but we do have Ice 3. So that is something that we can utilize here. We don't have stop, as you saw, which if those who are listening do not know, you can actually stop him entirely. So he just cannot act. And funny enough, you might think something we call the spicy chicken, a big red demon here, would be weak to ice, but he's actually weak to bio, which is another element, or non-element, I guess if you want to call it that we do not have currently.
Oh, shrapnel. Neat. Bye, Shadow. That's not what you wanted.
No, but thankfully one thing we did not see is a stop blaster. So that is nice to not see that. We do have life too, the best healing spell in the game, as I said. So he's going to bring Shadow up full health, no problem, No harm, no foul. He's still in this without an issue.
I mean, just be good, I guess, right? Good runners get procs on their weapons or something like that. Another good runner of the game once told me. So yeah, Schwantz has gotten 2 procs here on his Ragnarok and a number of procs on his snipers as well. The sniper's really not doing a ton. The procs on the Ragnarok doing a lot more, but hey, here you go. I think we also could have used maybe one ice rod there to try to bust through, but Schwanz gets everyone through that alive, able to collect the 50 magic points and the boatload of XP, and we'll see what he gets for a reward from this also. Probably wants progression, I would imagine, but
Another
how about a
VK.
Valiant Knife? On Schwanz's side, he did not have one, I don't believe, right? He
He
only
did
had the
not.
offering?
He only had the offering, so I'm pretty sure he's going to immediately equip that VK on lock and smile the whole time. And there we go. Oh, he's got to check Shadow first to see if he could throw it on. So he's going to do Shadow instead and stick with that V or the Sniper with lock. Interesting choice.
Yeah, and no longer the choice. It looks like it was the choice, and now it's not the choice, I think, perhaps. We'll see what he's doing, maybe checking some other stats. But meanwhile, Falcon hit going to Doma Defense. This is more in line with what a lot of other folks would probably do routing-wise, is take your, air quote, freer checks, shorter walks, and things like that. Looks like we have Rage that came out. That's fine. Wump, that's a little more dangerous. But everyone is walking it off so far, which is good. Atma Weapon not really being too mean.
I do know a lot about dangerous rodents, Possum. So those wumps or wombats are extremely damaging in this game. Funny enough, it's almost a meme at this point how much damage they can do.
A wombat especially is absolutely devastating because instead of being like one little one, it's like 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And yeah, a group of 6 little wombats. Yeah, that's a bad day. Falcon able to get through though, gains a bunch of levels, a bunch of spells, a bunch of magic points, pretty much everything you could want out of that fight for it not being too difficult, all things considered. Certainly easier than the spicy chicken. Gets a Magicite that is number 5, I believe, on Falcon Hit's side. So both runners at 6-5. Falcon Hit has 3 dragons. Falcon Hit has multiple VKs but no offering. Schwantz now has VK offering and also has a Yeti that has been dispatched on his screen. A Yeti in a waterfall, kind of weird, but glad to know that the Yeti is taking care of its hygiene.
Absolutely. Now I do see Falcon Hit is going to Imperial Camp, which is something I tend to not do later on in the seed. I'll usually skip it and either I'll check Bannon Falls first, or I'll even check Phantom Forest because I can peek it. Do you normally tend to do Imperial Camp if you're nearby, like Falcon Hit is doing here, or is it just a matter of what the seed is looking like and what you're really looking for at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what you're looking for. And in Falcon Hit's case, I think he still might be thinking, if monster in box, I take. And there is a monster in a box here. So I think that might have been part of it. I could have seen him saving and just resetting there. Didn't get the Katana Soul and says, hey, I'm out of here. Like, I could see it being that linear as far as a discussion point in his mind. Like, I just need to find this offering come heck or high water. And right now, well, he's getting burned pretty hard.
That is true. We just have to hope that this is going to be an Esper, so at least he gets some progression from this. Given all the dragons that he has taken, I don't think scaling is really an issue at this point. He's learned plenty of level 3 spells to get him through whatever he needs to do. The main downside now is just that lack of offering. So I do agree that, coming here just to check that monster in a box would not have been a bad idea, at least to me. So I wonder if he's going to go check out Phantom Forest afterwards.
Yeah, Phantom Forest and also Cave on the Veldt are both accessible to him and both have monster in boxes, and they're also both not named Floating Continent. Now, that said, we don't know. This seed may have to go through Sabin, which I believe was up on the Floating Continent, or if not Sabin, Edgar to Sabin. It's one of those situations where, he might be forced to do that. Actually, no, Sabin, excuse me, was a Doma Dream. Never mind. So it won't be forced there, but it's still a matter of where are these characters also, because you have to assume, starting with 4 characters, getting to, 8 that we have to get to, that would not be too bad, right? It's only 4 more characters. We've found 2 characters, 5 Espers, a bunch of gear, 6 Espers, 7 on Schwanz's side now. Like we found a lot of stuff, but not really many characters.
That is true. There's been quite a few dead checks, including that one that Falcon Hit just did. So that was another dead check. I did miss the item. Or no, actually it was an Esper. I did see the tracker. Took a moment to update. But yeah, he got himself an Esper there, so at least it wasn't a total loss. And he is foregoing doing Phantom Forest, which I agree with. It goes back to what I said before. How much time are you willing to sacrifice looking for that offering? And Phantom Forest is not peakable in terms of that monster in a box.
Yeah, I mean, Falcon Hit could look at it like, well, maybe I'll do, Phantom Train after this, and if it is a character, I'll be able to peek it and see it and then go through with it. I don't think he sits through the train for anything but exactly a character, no matter how much he wants that offering. There are very few circumstances, I think, where you actually do that, unless you have done every other monster in a box, in which case, well, you're just the luckiest person on Earth at that point. But
Or
it's one of those.
unluckiest,
Well,
if you've done that many monsters in a box.
but that's the whole thing, right? Is again, at that point, you're kind of pot committed, to use a poker term on it, where otherwise you can still get away from it. And Falcon Hit still has plenty of offense. He still has a VK. If he finds a Terra, he still has a Ragnarok. He's got level 3 spells, and a runner of his caliber can absolutely take out Final Kefka and the statues, etc. with this. But that all said, Schwantz, he has the offense that you dream of. He's not only going to get through things, but he's going to get through things quickly. These fights, these random encounters, are honestly going to be slower in most cases than bosses would be with how much damage that he's putting out. We saw 5,000 on a crit from Cyan there, and another 5,000 over 4 hits from Locke there. So I mean, that's 10k a round. Falcon Hit's doing well, but he ain't doing what Schwantz is doing.
Exactly, and that can really be the deciding factor in a race, especially toward the end game and dealing with Kefka. You can have enough offense to get through Kefka, but if you can do something like 20,000, 30,000 damage with a VK user, along with a Ragnarok, you're going to naturally have the ability to go faster than your competitor, strictly from an offensive standpoint. Of course, that's assuming Kefka doesn't decide to troll you to death. But if all things go decent, at least if you have that kind of offense, you should have the race in the bag in any time where you're even.
Yeah, absolutely. You can make up so much time with a better Kefka strategy than your opponent. If you get there at the same time, but you're doing twice the damage, you're not going to finish twice as fast, but you'll probably make up 3 or 4 minutes, certainly at a minimum 2. And that's oftentimes all you need when you're basically even going in. Falcon Hit going to give us a peek here. It's not a character he doesn't pair. He could have looked at that. He could have peeked it. It could have said offering, right?
It could have, and we might
It
actually
doesn't.
see what that is with the Schwantz. Let's
It
find
doesn't
out.
matter. And that's what I suspected Falcon Hit was going to do if it wasn't exactly a character. It was going to be like, nope. We move on, and Schwantz does peak. It does say Magicite and still resets. So Schwantz knows where Fenrir is. If he didn't have Golem, that could have been in consideration. But already having Golem means Fenrir is kind of an afterthought. Both runners, though, I mean, Schwantz is at 8 Espers here, and Falcon Hit's at 7. They need characters. Where are these characters at?
Well, we have 2 peekable checks. So, I think the faster peekable would be Edgar's check. I would maybe consider going and checking that. He is one of the most recent characters that we've gotten. You can go over to the cave next to South Figaro World of Ruin. Just walk up to where you see. If it's a character, finish it up. If not, reset. Or you can do what the Schwantz is doing, which is not that much longer, and that's go ahead and do Cave on the Veldt, which is technically peekable, but you still have to run through the entire cave to check it.
Yeah, it's peekable with help, and that help being your mobility. Whereas, the other checks are often a lot shorter. This does have the benefit of having a monster box, but no monster box, in sight for Schwantz. He just doesn't need it, knows where Gigantos is and has an offering. Falcon Hit, meanwhile, is going to get to deal with some spicy chicken, throws up a remedy because we had a stop go up on Locke. So no longer going to be stopped, and that'll kind of mess with what Spicy Chicken's plans were. So we get some Flare coming out. Going to be a lot of other magic, I assume, here, and see if he's able to get through the Poltergeist and receive yet another VK.
Out of curiosity, if you remedy the stop that's put on, does he still do blaster, or does that just sort of overwrite his scripting?
I would assume that it would be based on when it's queued. Like, if you got that remedy in just like a tick before, Poltergeist was casting it, or like you were kind of tied getting into the battle system there, it would probably still fire. But I would assume otherwise it would not. We are being told, God Mike, from Glue, that it will just not fire. So there you go.
That is very interesting information to know, though, since I've never actually even thought to use a remedy to get rid of stops. So I'm very glad to see that strat demonstrated here so we can all learn today. I know the Schwantz did go and check out the heading down to the basement of South Figaro, or of Figaro Castle, and that was not a character either. So he abandoned that and is going to Fanatic's Tower, where he found Gao. And funny enough, he just went to Nikea, went to the item shop, and found a dried meat right before he saw Gao. So the fates are smiling on the Schwantz at the moment.
What's not smiling on Falcon Hit is Launcher coming out from Poltergeist. While that is good for Lock, that is really bad when it's followed up with a Wave Cannon. Hello? Okay, not dead. That's good. 5,300 damage from Lock. That's more damage than he would be doing otherwise. But everybody in this party is kind of low HP right now, and Flare Star is not going to help that. So hopefully we're able to live here.
Ooh, that was
Everybody
shockingly low.
lives.
That was shockingly low damage. I was incredibly scared for Falcon Hit there, but apparently he knows something I don't, because that was pretty safe, all things considered.
Yeah, meanwhile, Schwantz picked up a behemoth suit, which is fine. We actually haven't seen much in the way of body armor for our characters. We've seen a ton of shields, and we have seen a bunch of good like accessories, hero rings, and things like that. Some good weapons, but very little in the way of armor. There was a Minerva, I want to say, from the Dragon and Phoenix Cave for Falcon Hit.
Correct.
But not much other than that for body armor that I can remember.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot. I'm sure they're probably going to have to take a swing by one of the armor shops to top off before Kefka. But yeah, there really hasn't been a whole lot. A lot of shields, not a lot of body armor and helmets,
Yeah.
however. And Falcon Hit is going to the Tunnel Armor Cave. I can't remember if the Schwantz has done this already, but it seems like an interesting one to hold off till the end for. It's always so quick.
Schwantz making me as a Final Fantasy IV randomizer player very happy, casting Berserk on his lock here. Going to go with Zerker strats and go ahead and get that VK offering to just charge right through. Also does it to Cyan and lands them both. I love me some Zerker strats. That's always a real fun time. Cyan might die here, unfortunately. He does not. He dodges. But yeah, we get to see one of the things you can do in Fanatic's Tower is, you can berserk your party, and then you can still hit things.
Absolutely. And it's probably one of the most viable strats you can use in here in terms of pure speed if you have the offense to support it. You know, Berserk and a good single swinging Ragnarok, or, Genji Glove with two big swords, VK offering, Sniper offering, any of those, you throw a Berserk on them and you're just sailing straight through most Fanatics towers that you would come in contact with the bosses or dragon.
And so it looks like that's where the Mag 2 Esper came from, was Tunnel Armor. And I know that Schwantz did that pretty early because he fought Kefka, and he was killing Kefka with snipers early on, sniper offerings. So Schwantz has had that Mag 2 Esper for quite a while that Falcon Hit is just now getting. So Falcon Hit has unfortunately missed out on an offering, an early Mag 2 Esper. Kind of Schwantz just like cooking the seed right now, honestly. It just needs one more character, and might be able to get that character on the Veld or by Serpent Trench. Could be seeing go mode here pretty quickly on Schwantz's side, maybe in the next couple minutes even. And with his level of power, I mean, he could just push straight through.
Absolutely. And, I think that, going straight to Gao checks is definitely the move here. He did find himself some dried meat, so knocking that out is, that's a choice. Doing a late Velt check is always a bit risky because of the just inherent way that running into Gao at the Velt is. In that many fights you can't run into Gao at all, and even fights that you can run into Gao, it's still only a 5/8 chance. So you can just run into that opportunity or that situation where you're like, whoops, 8 fights to get Gao. It is guaranteed progression, but that's huge when you're only one character away. So does the Schwantz do the Velt, or does he just go straight into Serpent Trench?
Well, the answer is yes, because when he picked up his last character, he actually moved Cyan out of the party. So he's doing this with 3 characters right away. So he was committed to this immediately once he picked up that Gao there. And that's also a really nice little bit of tech that if you are planning on doing something like Gogo's check, where you only want 1 character, or Gao's check where you want 3, you can go ahead and you can set up using that character screen to pick the number of people that you actually want in your party. So we see Schwantz absolutely mauling a behemoth there. Gets another behemoth suit. So accidentally farming behemoth suits, I've definitely seen worse things. And hopefully for Schwantz, so he doesn't get too many more behemoths and things like that. Lobo's definitely what you want to see.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if we had the Ragnarok Esper, one of the fun things you could do here is you could use Ragnarok and go for a metamorphosis.
Oh
And
my goodness. Paid off with a go-go. Most people don't want to see a go-go, but when you're one move from go mode, you want go-go for go mode.
yeah, your go for or cuckoo for go mode here. Falcon hit meanwhile peaks Kefka and Arsh and resets, so Schwantz is ready to go climb that tower. While Falcon hit, I think this might be a forced Fanatics tower. I guess we haven't seen Burning House, but we're running real low on checks. I guess Floating Continent is still out there as well. That's right. But this is not what Falcon Hit wants to be doing at the 53-minute mark is Floating Continent.
Not at all. I did want to say one thing about the Schwantz, and not only did he remember to go ahead and get his group formed when he got his character to go ahead and do Gao's check, but just straight shoutouts to him remembering who had his Moogle Charm. Because he immediately picked the character who had the Moogle Charm, kicked him out of the team, that way he didn't have to menu in order to do the Velt check. So it's just those minor optimizations throughout the course of your run that can really make a difference between even just an Elixir runner from a Mega Elixir runner in the Ultros League or any racing in general. And as you said, the Schwantz, he not only has superior offense at this point with VK offering, Sniper, Ragnarok, good level 3 magic, and that level 2 magic Esper, but he got his unlock significantly earlier than Falcon Hit, as Falcon Hit has to run through the longest check in the game, and we already know he's not going to get his unlock here.
No, he'll get Edgar, and unless the ancient castle itself has a character, which I think it can. Maybe it can't, I don't know. Unless that exact check has a character, then he's still going to have to do something else. Really hurting for characters here.
Definitely. And I did see a question in chat from Concussed Gamer that is there a tower skip in these flags? It does require Lete River and 12 bosses. That means skips are not always guaranteed or even possible. In this case, we did not receive Terra, therefore we cannot do Lete River, therefore skip is impossible at this time. So Schwantz will be full running it. Most likely, Falcon Hit will be running it as well, unless he makes a different move for Ebbets Rock, Burning House, or the Ancient Castle, all of which could potentially have Terra, but it is pretty unlikely when when Fanatics Tower exists.
Yeah, that makes sense. And shout out to our tracker Chrono as well, doing a great job of keeping us honest here in the booth, because I know that we start talking about different topics and subjects and what's happening in the race, and get into these highfalutin ideas of what should be done and how it should be done. And Chrono just, doing a great job behind the scenes, making sure that everything is lit up the way it should be on your screen. So thank you as always to everyone behind the scenes here, but to the tracker especially. Actually, the hardest job where you have to pay the most attention instead of just yapping away.
That's entirely why I don't do tracking. I get distracted too easily. So absolutely shout outs to him for taking care of that and taking care of it absolutely as efficiently as possible. We appreciate everything that he's doing down there. Somebody mentioned in chat that we had Sword Tech with Gao, which gives Gogo Sword Tech. We have unlocked Sword Tech. Therefore, we have Sword Tech 8, instant death for Narapa. He should be going down here in just a moment to that.
But first, we gamble.
But first, we gamble.
Good job, Gogo. Gogo, one of my favorite characters, unfortunately does not have a place in this party. Gogo would be wonderful if you had, let's say, like Sword Tech and an ultimate caster, things like that. But with this particular squad where you're relying on like VK offering and a Ragnarok user, Gogo just doesn't have a good home here. So it makes me a little sad, but I totally get it on Schwanz's side.
Absolutely. I mean, you could argue that he has Sword Tech, which could be extremely handy during Final Kefka if you don't have a good fourth spot. That's your instant death. You can knock out Long Arm, you can knock out Tools quick and easy. Have a little bit of life too, little Kira 3, but I think this team is so well developed already across all 4 characters that you're right, there's just no reason for him to be in there. And I have to say I'm quite impressed that you are a Go-Go fanatic, considering your general mentor was Gar, and Gar has given me strong words when I've decided to keep Go-Go in one of my VOD reviews, so...
Well, but I mean, I'm also a fan, in the original randomizer I played, of a character named Tello who could do everything poorly. Gogo does everything poorly, but he does everything, and utility is the name of the game. Speaking of things that you don't do poorly, Falcon Hit finds, finally for him, the Katana Soul, which it was up on Floating Continent all along, and that is a little bit unfortunate for Falcon Hit, because this, could have been on the table for Falcon Hit, I don't know, 40 minutes ago? So he's not going to be particularly thrilled about this, finding Katana Soul here and now. Gotta be feeling the pain here. And Cyan, well, goodbye, pal. You just got a Shurad right in the face.
That's all right. At least Katana Soul will be going down. And, that is one thing about this randomizer that sometimes despite your skill, despite, how good you are at combat or anything like that, sometimes RNG is just going to RNG. And the choices that you make in a randomizer just don't always pan out. And in this case, Falcon Hit decided no basement. That means no early experience egg, no offering. And, unfortunately, he's going to have to pay the cost for that. At least he will have that VK offering going into the end game of this seed. But I have to wonder if it's too little too late.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be absolutely dominating everything that he runs into with that lock. The problem is he's, realistically 15 or 20 minutes behind Schwanz at this point. He's going to ultimately, I think, have better levels. But yeah, not the run that Falcon Hit was hoping for. Coming into this in the first position overall in the league, just ahead of the man putting on the show for us tonight, Drinks Glue, and then a little bit behind Gar, Golden Shocker, and then down to Boo, Fitz, and Schwanz. So, still very competitive for Falcon Hit. We'll still, beat the pants off of yourself and myself, but not where he's going to want to be amongst the elites in the game. Certainly after this one, just not the time he's going to want at the end of it. But Schwanz has a chance to make some moves here. He's putting up a really great run right now, and love this Alexander cast. This is another thing about Espers actually doing damage. That is holy, and Alexander's a really strong Esper, and that's 6,000 damage over to Doom. So very well done by Schwanz there as well.
Busting out the Go-Go Mimic, too, to have a little repeat for you. He's catering to you here. Oh, it looks like a rare play from Falcon Hit, leaving Floating Continent in the middle.
That is interesting because there's still a character check to be done at the end of it. Uh, I wonder if he's saved up there. I didn't catch it. And he's just going to peek the castle here as well as the engine room and see if those have characters. And if not, maybe reset back up to the floating continent. I know save scumming is not super widely used in Worlds Collide. It's something that you see a lot more in other randomizers. But I'm curious if that might be something that that Falcon Hit is thinking here. While Schwanz gets the validation chest, it is but a sniper sight and Flame Eater coming up here. So here we go. This is a fight that I think we have Ice 3 for. Yeah, and
Yeah,
this
Flame
is
Eater has
going to
no
be bad.
idea. He has no idea what he's in for here. He's going down in no time flat. Looks like a little longer than expected because Gogo went down. Would have been nice if Gogo was up to mimic that Ice 3, but I think this second one should. Actually, with the scaling, Flame Eater might even survive a second Ice 3.
Yeah, Gogo was dead heading into this fight, so there's that. But Florgo no more, and Shadow brings down that Flame Eater in 2 Ice 3s. Well done.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention, you were mentioning, the placements of the current Kefka Grand Prix standings and things like that. But the way that this works is that, Falcon Hit is so far ahead of the competition at this point. It's the top 16 are going to go into a 2-week heat in order to determine who the champion is. So we can easily say that Falcon Hit is assured a place in the top 16. For the last 2 weeks, the week immediately after week 8 is going to reduce the team down to 8. And then the final week will be an 8 people running the same seed, and whoever wins the KGP. So it's
Gotcha.
all marbles on the table for the last race, the top 8. So in this case, although Falcon Hit is unlikely to be able to make up the difference in time here between him and the Schwantz, he is assured to go through the top 16 and almost assuredly the top 8 as well. It will be that last week that really all the cards are on the table for everybody racing.
Yeah, and chat mentioning as well at this point that this is something that can happen to literally all of us, and too many of us has. That Falcon Hit may not realize the no free checks is on. It could literally be that simple. Also, we're gonna have a fun interaction here. VK Lock there got overflowed and got to bop his friend Edgar, and then got to bop himself and then bop the enemy. One of the really fun things is if you get overflowed and then you kill the boss, it'll default back to you hitting yourself again after the boss dies because you're considered a valid target at that point.
I had no idea. That is wild.
I learned that because I died to it. It was phenomenal and awful.
That is wild, and one of the few things you'll never ever see, much less actually have happen to you. But I have died to Overflow many times. He's a boss that you tend to just not take very seriously until he overflows your Octo-Atma user and you just slay your whole team at once.
Mm-hmm.
Or he decides to get your one magic caster and you immediately X-zone yourself into oblivion. It's just how the RNG tends to work out for whatever reason. The Schwantz going to the last statue. He's going to be hitting up Kefka here any moment. We have Haidon. I don't think we're going to have an issue with Haidon. He's got Cyan. Yeah, he doesn't have his best magic caster. Confu Claw, you're right. But Sortek 8.
I was going to say Sortek 6 probably also does it, but yeah. Either of those will do it and probably proceed on from there. Yeah, Falcon Hit making his way down to the ancient castle, likely going to peek and see if there is a character there. It is not going to be a character, and he'll probably reset afterwards. So yeah, it just might be a situation where unfortunately Falcon Hit just didn't see the flag, and it'd be like that sometimes. So Schwanzo making good use here of all of his abilities.
I am shocked to hear that Ancient Castle is not, or is considered a free check, while Phoenix Cave is not. Given the amount of time it takes for the cutscene to get to the Ancient Castle, the text, running all the way down there, dealing with the dragon, doing the thing, running back, no warp out, more cutscene, walking out, walking back to your airship, I'm very surprised to hear that, oh, wait, What? It's not a free check. It's a realm.
Okay, well, I'm
I was
confused
very
now.
confused. I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that this is not considered a free check given the amount of time it takes. And thankfully, we are proven wrong. It is a realm there, which does give Falcon Hit the unlock, and he's going to be off to
Hey,
Kefka's
physics.
Tower. Yes.
What's that happening on Schwanz's screen?
Was that a goner?
It sure was.
That was a goner, but it's fine. Cyan comes through with that Ragnarok, but I'm sure the Schwanz is clenching a little bit after that one. That's pretty nasty when that pops out.
I love seeing all those sparkly kind of weird, going through the universe things happening with Goner. I love the animation to it because it's not happening to me.
Absolutely. You don't want to see that at any other time, unless you expect it. Obviously, you can prepare for Kefka 4, but when it just pops up randomly when you're fighting Senor Behemoth, or you're rolling through the last statue of Kefka in a live race on Restream versus Falcon Hit, that's the last thing you want to see. But he survived, he finished it off with that rag swing, and he's off to Kefka.
Yeah, we have to play a game here, right? Because switches were at like 106.45, give or take. So what is it? What's the game we play again? It's like a guessing game. People like type a time or guess a number or basically do like Price is Right rules or something.
Yeah, I'm going to count this as, I'm going to say a 1:13:15. That's going to be my guess for a follow. I put it in chat. 1:13:15 for me. It's about a 7.5 minute Kefka climb. Well, that's about a 6 minute Kefka climb. That might be a little generous, but you know what? I'm sticking with it. What's math? I don't know how to math. It's fine. It's late.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty aggressive guess there.
Well, Sawyer's going with the Price is Right strats. That's great. That's great.
I'm going to say 1:16:01. Somehow, some way, there's going to be something that goes wrong.
Oh, you're looking for
drag it out a tiny bit.
Yeah, you're looking for a catastrophe. That's a lot. A 10-minute Kefka, or 9-minute Kefka climb with BK offering.
It's 8. Come on now.
Yeah, we'll see. But Locke's chilling at 185, and I think we still have a True Knight on, so he doesn't have to worry about these counters. But he does have to worry about a triple hit on short arm. Good lord. He's got 3 targets here. He swings 3 of them on the short arm, the one you do not want to hit early.
Dread. Everybody loves Dread.
Yeah, Drinks Glue throwing some shade here, saying for a 2-hour Kefka fight.
Oh, come on now. This is not the pixel remaster speedrun of Final Fantasy VI. Shoutouts to anyone who runs that because, oh my god, the way that it is routed, you get to Kefka and you are just praying and clenching for about 8, 9, 10 minutes. Schwanz takes a reset here.
No softs.
Yeah, doesn't have a way to unsoft the shadow there.
I am a little surprised to see that. Is Shadow that important to the game plan to sacrifice the run for? Or potentially sacrifice the race for, that is?
He might be. If that's where the Mag 2 Esper was the whole time, then he might be. If that's where his Cure 3 was, for example, there's a lot that could go into that, where if he loses that shadow, he has a problem. That's very the only thing scary. I can think of.
Yeah, that's very scary now, knowing that he is one potential dread away from having to reset again or just deal with it. So I believe he's going to want to 100% focus fire head. Is that correct? He's the one doing dread?
Yes, he's going to be the one doing dread, and basically you get dread after, I think it drops below a certain amount of HP, but not before. I want to say, chat also mentioning Golem might have been on that shadow. But I mean, if that's the case, like, you just hope your lock doesn't die, right? And you get through the rest of it.
That's true. I mean, you get True Knight. I don't know if he has True Knight going on, but that might be an option to go ahead and use, having True Knight available. You don't really have to worry about calmness as long as your True Knight is still up when that happens.
Yeah, and you don't
get double calmness.
Don't have to worry about dread also when you go and do 2 quad 9 fire 3s, a rag and a proc, and just knock out this head before it can do anything. This Fire 3 should kill and then can break the bottom arm. So no dread this time.
Yeah, I was thinking he might want to do that and just completely focus Firehead, not worry about attacking with VK, not worry about doing instant death, just focusing him down with Fire 3, getting him out of the way so you don't have to worry about Dread anymore, which did work out really good for him. We are down to short arm now. He likes to counter stuff, so hopefully just kill him without too much damage to those counter attacks.
Well, so far we've taken no damage to those counterattacks and also dished out some from Wild Fang. And yeah, so
Good dog.
all of Shadow's stuff with the dog is magic based. So you can tell that there's a lot of magic on that Shadow because that Wild Fang did 7,000, which is a lot more than the 2,000 and 3,000 you normally see.
Oh, absolutely. And with Tier 1 being the only ground-based unit in the Kefka climb, it is able to hit, so it's not going to miss like it will every other tier of this fight. So we're on to Tier 2 here. I know we have Siren. I know we have some instant death. And if no instant death, we at least have quarter. So we're pretty well prepared for this tier, as long as we don't get any shenanigans like, what's it called? Doomtusk. That's always the main risk here.
Doomtusk on your VK user is always my favorite.
Yeah, so you just have to be careful not to push him down below 50% when you're not ready. Ideally, you wait for him to act. If you're really that worried about Doomtusk, you can wait for him to act before he's 50%, and then go ahead and push him down before he gets another turn with weight tricking. But chances are, all foot is on the gas right now. So we're just going to go through as fast as possible.
Yeah, especially because we have the tools to deal with everything, including tools in this phase. North Cross, though, not what you want to see here. And we have Falcon hit luck on Schwanz's side. So gonna need to cycle back around to this Shadow and use like Fire 1 or 2 on the team here. Or maybe even Merton. That might be no, we do have Fire 1. Hopefully we targeted all there. I know the blinker goes a little weird. We did good. So that's going to defrost 3 of our party members here. Locke is going to pop right out and then go ahead and just kind of stomp on the enemies a little. Part of this phase as well that's kind of spooky is when the enemies get below a certain threshold of HP, they do different things. That's where that Doomtusk can come out from Tiger. It's where like you'll start seeing quarters come out from Magic when it gets low. And that's why you want to make sure to mute Magic, which is the one in the back. And you want to make sure to use Instant Death on the one in the middle. You can even stop the blue guy in the front if you want. So lots of different things you can do in this phase to really optimize it. Or, if you really wanted to push big damage like Ultima and Merton, you can't do Ultima in this flag set, but you can just spam Merton as well. And everything will die except for the back one because of the HP pool that they have.
Absolutely, and that's one of my favorite tactics to do, and maybe not everybody knows that, is that, the HP values for each of these pieces is different. While Magic in the back has 40,000, everything else has less than that. So, considering you can only do 9,999 per hit, you can get Magic down to 39,997, right? 98, 96? All the other 3 will die, and he'll be a whopping 3 or 4 damage away from death. You go ahead and just deal with all the counters that are going to come out, heal up, kill Magic, and move on your way. You do have to make sure you don't accidentally touch Magic with anything else, though, if you're going to do that, because then you risk killing Magic, who can quarter your party, and Hit, who can 10 hits you back-to-back, which can wipe you instantly.
We got an H-Bomb, a rare slot usage, in the Tier 2 and the Kefka fight at all here. Very rare to see that. We do see some Dispels come out. That is Tier 2 done for Schwanz. This
7
is actually,
HP.
well, this is actually where things pick up for this build. Is now, assuming Locke lives through the opening barrage here, Locke is going to absolutely pop off. 7 HP is not a large number. And because of the way VK works, it is your HP as low as possible means more damage done. We have Merton coming out from the enemy, and Locke does in fact die. That is unfortunate.
It is a bit of a delay, but he'll still get up with a few hundred HP and still be slapping hard. This is a fight that is endable in 3 rounds at this HP. So as long as Locke, cooperates and uses his attacks appropriately and hits Lady first, this should be done pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's
He's doing
Lady
about
down.
16,000. Yeah, 16,000 per round. He's at about 10, so he can do Golem, VK attack, and this fight is over. No counter, no problem. Looks like he's going to go ahead and top him off first. Go ahead and just do a couple magic attacks, another VK, and then call it.
A proc there would have been spicy. Oh, this Fire 3 might tip us. I'm a little concerned that this is one too many spells. Yeah, that's what I was worried about there. So Locke does dodge.
Clutch
that's
missed.
Huge.
Clutch miss, and that's going to finish it right there. So that was fantastic luck for
did
the
we
Schwab.
Get Golem? We did. Okay,
We
good.
did,
good.
yeah. We did. Nobody died, so we just have Golem ready to go. And I don't think Golem actually had to proc there, so we should have Golem to start tier 4 as well for any future Havoc wings that may come out.
I thought that Golem fell off between phases and Fenrir stayed on. I might be wrong on that, but
you could very well be right, actually. I'm not 100% on that one, but with Locke doing 16,000 damage per swing, we're looking at 4 rounds of Locke swings to finish this, not counting any level 3 spells or anything that are coming out in between, or shield breaks. So this should be a very fast Kefka 4.
The fun part about this, though, the damage range that you end up in here is very spooky, because if Locke does 16k and other people are doing, like, let's say 12 or whatever, you can very easily end up in a range where you're between like 50 and 60k. And what happens when you get between 50 and 60k that Kefka decides to do that's a little bit different?
Revenger? No, it's Ultima. He can definitely Ultima you and just wipe the whole thing out if you don't count right. But instead he went to Goner, so I believe we're going to end this before Goner comes out with appropriate weight tricking. So let's see if he can knock him out before that happens. I don't think it's going to be an issue.
The only thing that could be a potential problem here is Cyan whiffing here, but he didn't whiff, and in fact he got a proc on top of it, so yeah, unless we get a rogue desperation attack, a 1 in 16 here from Locke, we're fine. No desperation attack, so this is going to be GG for Schwantz. Very well done. Took a little safe there.
GG's
on that reset, but gets the job done and puts up a 118.30 something, 35 we'll say. So I think the second time around that fight was very close to about that 8-minute, 7.5, 8-minute mark. So
absolutely, that means the winner. The winner of the guessing game here is AJS with a 116.35. Congratulations.
And also GG to Schwantz, who's joining us. Very well run, sir.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you, guys.
Amazing run, Schwantz. That was fantastic to watch there. How you feeling after this win against Falcon Hit live today?
Well, I thought the race was over at like the 8-minute mark when I saw the offering and experience egg in South Figaro basement and went, oh no, I picked the wrong thing in the Narsh weapon shop. And I guess I'm glad I went to Mount Cults that had the Valiant knife that I forgot about all along. So kind of a wild swing of things, with how that went anyway.
Yeah, it's really funny that you mentioned that, actually, because you and him took very, very different routes, and his route did not include the basement at all.
Oh, wow.
He did get the VK. He did not get the offering. You got the experience egg early. He did not get the experience egg early. So that immediately put you in a dominant position in terms of scaling, even after you died to Gigantos. Just having that experience egg, having better espers early from Floating Continent, having VK offering at a decent time really did help propel you forward early on, for sure. I do have to ask, and then I'm gonna let Morpheus ask some questions as well, but how are you feeling after you saw Shadow get dreaded and then find you don't have any softs?
Yeah, that's what happens when you kind of short circuit your shopping because you're like, oh, I've got enough good stuff on me now. Let's just go. And the only reason why I went back to a shop was to look for dried meat for Gao at the very, very end of the seed, right? So sometimes that'll happen where you don't have the stuff that you kind of need. And on the second time around, my philosophy was get head down as fast as possible, because that is basically the only thing that could let me reset that tier, except if my Valiant Knife user gets punched a little bit too much. So that was why I choose to use Fire 3 instead of trying, to kill Long Arm, who was pretty strong this this seed. Couldn't break that arm today.
Yeah, definitely. That was really rough, just seeing that happen. And I have to say, the RNG gods did really smile upon you when you went to the one shop, found a dried meat, and then just cruised on over to Fanatic's Tower, and there was Gao. Did you already know Gao was there,
yes.
or was that just
Yes,
luck?
I did. No,
Okay.
I peeked that before I went to do Dome of Dream, and I filed it for later. I'm like, all right, well, Gao can be my 8th character at some point if I run out of, easy fast checks. And the problem was I didn't have dried meat in my inventory, so that's why I didn't go get Gao right away. That and Fanatic's Tower is kind of a long check, and I was hoping that I would get to 8 before I'd have to do that, but unfortunately, with Phantom Train being Esper, Veltke being Esper, Edgar's check being at least Esper in the first one, I kind of ran out of stuff to do, right? So that was why I was like, well, I guess it's time to go back and get Gao after all. So that's sort of why I put him off a little bit. Had I got him earlier, he was Sword Tech, right? So that would have been huge if I would have gotten him before I went to Cyan's Dream. That would have been ridiculous, because I may have swapped out, my Bannon for that Gao Sword Tech unlock build earlier. And Gogo definitely having that Sword Tech helped me out in the middle lane a little bit there. But yeah, that's sometimes how the routing goes. I was going to actually go do something like off the wall, like Burning House first, but when I saw the Gigantos monster in a box, going back to his rightful home after 4 weeks on and 1 week off in the Falcon class cart. I don't know if that's like a running joke that you guys know about. That Gigantos has been in the Classroom Monster in a Box for 5 out of the 6 weeks, which is quite ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, change of plans. Do 1 or 2 fights in the basement to get enough HP to survive that. Go do Gigantos, and that's enough levels for me to start going to the Floating Continent right away. And I got pretty lucky in my basement encounter with something that was weak to Bolt, and I had a Bolt 3 Rage from Cyan, so that gave me, I think, 11 levels, and I'm like, all right, well, this is good enough, and sort of just went from there. So that's sort of what my plan was and how I abandoned it halfway through when I saw what the seed gave me.
Yeah, it's always good to stay flexible with that. And I wanted to kind of ask about that flexibility going back to kind of the very beginning. You obviously have a lock and you go to the weapon shop and you see, oh, hey, I have these choices and it's 2 very shiny things that do dramatically different things, but they're both incredibly shiny.
Right.
Was part of the decision to go to Floating Continent early potentially to find a Terra, or was it just characters in general that you were probably hunting going up there?
I could answer that either or question with a yes. Yeah, okay. I definitely wanted to get Terra for the Valiant Knife behind the Welk check, right? And Floating Continent is a place that offers at least 2 guaranteed pieces of progression. It's not really as favorable in seeds where the no free characters and Esper's flag is on, because most of the other checks won't be dead, except thank you, Mount Cults, for giving me the Valiant Knife. But that's sort of how I went, all right, I could do Floating Continent, and this way it's not a decision later on in the seed going, oh my gosh, I need characters, are they up there or not, right? It also helps to get some levels, and I've noticed recently my levels towards the end of the seed have not been good enough to take on, the Kefka Tower climb at level 45 or so, whatever the max scaling is. So I've been trying to get as many levels as possible, both early on and sort of in the middle of the seed, because I knew that bosses tend to get pretty tanky. The Poltergeist fight took a pretty long time, but he's just a tank in general, so that is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you faced some pretty tanky bosses, but you got through them fairly well, all things considered. We were kind of comparing offenses between you and Falcon hit throughout a lot of the seed, and
Mhm.
you had better offense throughout most of it. When you're in the moment, it almost never feels that way, but
Yeah,
it's one of those situations where like you were doing a lot more damage throughout the normal part of the seed, if you will.
right.
He's doing a lot more in his final Kefka fight, but you also kind of touched on that you didn't have the levels, but you still had the damage throughout. It was very well balanced, I thought, as you kept track of those levels and your progression, so as to not make it too hard or too easy. There was one other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on with you. Uh,
Mhm.
Later on into the seed, was there any decision to route in checks that could potentially have dragons to help with that XP? Or were you kind of like, you know what, I have a VK offering, I've got this shadow that's got a bunch of magic. I'm good. I don't need the XP this time around.
Yeah, I probably should have paid a little more attention to my levels because my non-experience egg users were a little bit low. I passed it between Cyan and Locke for most of the seed, so my Shadow and Strago were I think 35 when we went in the tower, which is why I put them in the one team together that would take on most of the bosses, and gave one of them the experience egg at least for a little bit. Um, so that was kind of a concern. I debated taking the Fanatics Tower Dragon, but at that point, I also didn't need the stuff that the dragon dropped, and I didn't need to learn any spells off of Espers either. I kind of learned all the stuff I needed to by that point, and that for me, more than the levels, is why I take dragons to learn spells or to get some high tier item that would help me out. And I didn't need either of those other two things, so that's why no dragons really for me. And then towards the beginning, I did notice that Shadow had or learned a ton of cool spells naturally. So that also kind of prompted me to short circuit my looting and shopping and just go to Floating Continent because I knew I had Ice 3 as a backup to my slots if I had to as well. So it was really more about learning spells rather than gaining levels. But I probably, looking back, I probably should have taken on the Fanatics Tower Dragon because it would have been pretty easy with Berserk for my two attackers and then high powered other spells for everyone else. But that is what it is. That also costs time up front, right? So how much time would I have saved on the back end by being two higher levels, right? I don't think it would have made up the difference.
Definitely. And the last question I have for you is just, this run brings down your average time a little bit. You were averaging about an hour 22 on these coming in, and, a 118 is very, very good, especially on a seed like this, where it was very buried characters.
Yeah.
You're, from what I can see here at 44 points, you're in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place right now. Are you feeling confident about this run, giving you a couple of points and keeping you in the running, or guaranteeing you or getting you close to, moving on to the next round? I assume you got to be feeling pretty good about this one.
Quick interruption, though. I just want to make sure everybody says GG's to Falcon Hit, finishing up at 128.37. GG's in chat, everybody. Well played.
GG.
GG.
Yeah, I'm feeling well. Obviously there are lots of other very, very good runners in the Falcon Cart class, and beating one runner is great, but there are lots of other ones that I am being stomped on each week. So it really depends on them. I'd like to finish in the points, but I think I'm pretty comfortable at 44 now. I think the playoffs cutoff is at like 28 or 29 points. So I just am hoping to stay in the top 6 for the next couple of weeks. And since MP resets after week 8, I am embracing the chaos that will come from the spell casting that is certain to happen. So we'll see how it goes after this week. But I also want to give you guys a huge shout out for putting on the race, Chrono for tracking, Possum Morpheus Physics Shebang for doing commentary, Drinks Glue for organizing and restreaming. The real MVPs can't have the races without the staff. So thank you guys so much for volunteering.
And we appreciate you agreeing to be restreamed today and putting on an amazing show for us. So GG's, congratulations, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Yep, GG's, and also GG's to Falcon Hit as well, who just stepped in. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye now.
Yes, sir. catch you next time.
Yeah,
And GG's Falcon
GGs.
hit. Welcome in. How are you feeling after your run today?
I think this was just if you go FC, you're just chilling, but if you don't go FC, you're kind of dying. Oh, also, I forgot that I had Strago because I saw I had Bannon, so my mind didn't link that I had Strago, so I didn't do any of Strago's checks. Did any of Strago's checks have characters?
Gao at
Tower.
Fanatics Tower, but we don't know about Ebbets and we don't know about Burning House. Those were both completely avoided by Schwanz.
Ah, I see. Well, that would have been faster than Ancient Castle.
Gao did lead directly to Go-Go from the Veld as well. So it was kind of a 2-for-1 out of there in a seed where you were choking for characters. So it did make quite a bit of difference. You took a much more circuitous route through the seed, but you still made real good time for all the things that you did. And your Kefka fight, except for Locke getting beat up a little bit at the end there, was a breeze. VK offering always fun. Once you finally found the offering, the great offering hunt of 2024 for you.
Yeah, I did so many of the monsters and boxes. It's kind of worth it. Kind of, not really. Like I said, if you just went FC, you're kind of chilling. But if you didn't go FC, you were just dying. Is there any other offense? Also, it was kind of weird because Cyan had more magic power than Shadow, so I kind of wanted to make Cyan my magic caster. I don't know why I didn't.
With Rage, it's also not a terrible idea. Sometimes he goes and does something useful with the magic, and sometimes he, gets to hit things. It's kind of best of both worlds.
And answering your question about the other offense, the main thing is it goes right back to what you said, and that is Floating Continent, because it did have a magic power +2 Esper there, which would have just further solidified what you were looking for anyway, making literally anybody your magic caster. The other thing, and it's kind of a question I had for you, was more about the going to the basement or not going to the basement. In the basement this time, sadly, there was an offering and an experience egg. So what is your thought process on going to the basement or not going to the basement? I have seen you mention in chat that you just don't do basement anymore. Is that something that you typically just route out unless you have to, or is it just something you don't do?
It's very much dependent on your starting characters. Since my starting characters, you have 4 starting characters, and one of them had slots, which is a really good early game ability. So if you have really good early game abilities, it kind of negates out the advantage of getting a good item out of basement. Of course, experience egg is the best item you can get, so it's kind of nah. Also, I kind of knew there was good stuff there because I checked a ton of chests and there was no good items. I got 1 ice shield and I was like, man, there's probably good items in chests somewhere and I should go get them, but I was like, nah, it's fine. But yeah, it depends on your starting characters, right? Because if you have throw or slots or a lore with an attacking lore, it makes your early game a lot easier. The reason I would want to go to basement is because I really want something that makes my early game routing a little bit better. And since I had slots, I was like, oh, I don't need to go.
Got it. That's really good information for me as a runner as well. I know a lot of people would be wondering, most people go there, come hell or high water, they're going to the basement. So it's always good to hear from a different perspective in that regard.
Oh, also I had Rage, and Rage is one a really good early game ability, so you can get level 3 spells for free, essentially. And magic is always what you want to use early game because it has a higher minimum damage. So Bolt Reference, for example, at level 3 will almost always deal about 500 damage or more because based on the magic power, there's a formula, but based on the magic power of a spell, it will always do a minimum amount of damage. And for magic attacks, it's a lot higher than physical attacks.
Yeah, we saw you put that to great use actually against the Gigantos, opting for Toe Cutter and Shrapnel as opposed to even the chance at Doom from Skybase. So you were just like, oh, I'm gonna flex this damage and just kill this in 2 shrapnels and call it good. And that obviously great game knowledge there. Just damage will kill this, and shrapnel does a lot of it, and it's not elemental.
That's true. Yeah, especially against Gigantos, you want to use a magic because he has, I think, 3 magic defense, or no, 1 magic defense. So it's basically pure damage. Yeah. There was another egg in returners. Man, I missed out. Yeah, because I had rage and slash. I wanted to go quick, so I got the non out of the way chest, which is the the long chest in the top room and the chest in the room before jumping into Elite River. So I just skipped those two, and I was just like, if there's something there, I'm just dead.
Sometimes when running these seeds, it's just you can't help but miss some things. You're not always going to loot every single chest everybody else loots. So it just is sort of a thing that you have to deal with in Worlds Collide as a whole, whether you're racing or just playing casual. One thing I did notice from you is that you went full tilt on dragons. What was your sort of mindset on hunting dragons so hard early on?
Because the item pool is better than normal, right? And dragons, when you kill them, they will give you a high tier item. It is pulled from the same pool. So, in my opinion, doing dragons in this flag set is it can give you a lot of advantage, right? So that's why I went, killed so many dragons, but they just kept dropping me VKs.
I mean, you got an experience egg, I believe, from Phoenix.
Oh
Cave,
yeah, I did.
Right?
No, from Mount Zozo.
Minerva.
Mount Zozo, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
I got the Minerva, but no one could equip the Minerva, so that was just a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, so at least you didn't run out of. At least you didn't say no experience eggs. You did get one, which I think Schwantz only had one as well. So that was pretty even. So that's all I have. Posmorphus, you got any other questions for Falcon Hit?
No questions, just a statement that it's always a pleasure to watch runners like yourself and Schwantz, learn from the masters of the game, watch what they do and see how they think and get to ask these questions. It's awesome. So thank you for putting on a heck of a show. I know probably not the results you wanted, but you're still having a pretty darn good tournament as a whole already. So I think you'll be fine with a 1 week dud.
Yep, for sure. That's how it goes sometimes, right?
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you, Falcon Hit, and of course the Schwantz for both agreeing to be restreamed for us. Possum Orpheus, it was amazing to be able to commentate with you again. Drinks Glue, thank you so much for turning the knobs in the background, and to our wonderful tracker as well. Thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it off to Possum Orpheus and Drinks Glue for some final words.
Yeah, just echoing that. Thank you, Glue behind the scenes, Chrono doing the tracking, you're getting the actual hardest job. Falcon Hit and Schwantz for putting on the actual show, letting us commentate as they do the hard work. But yeah, thank you everyone in the community as well. Y'all are awesome, and always good to see everyone. So, all yours, Glue.
Thank you, Possum, for your tremendous send-off, and Physic for all of your expertise and insight tonight as well in the commentary booth. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you to Falcon Hit and the Schwantz 27 for agreeing to do their Week 6 run on Restream for us. We can't have a race without the racers and our runners, so much love there. And again, everybody, y'all have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.